Mr. President, needless to say, I see in my election a special appreciation for Egypt and a recognition of the role she plays on the international scene.
Boutros Ghali was born in Cairo on the 14th of November 1922 into a bourgeois Coptic Christian family. He was named after his grandfather, Boutros Ghali, who was Egypt's prime minister from 1908 to 1910. Boutros Ghali graduated from Cairo University in 1946 and received a PhD in international law from the University of Paris in 1949. Dr. Boutros Ghali was appointed Professor of International Law and International Relations at Cairo University between 1949 and 1977. He was a member of the Central Committee and Political Bureau of the Arab Socialist Union from 1974 to 1977. Dr. Boutros Ghali served as Egypt's Minister of State for Foreign Affairs between 1977 and early 1991. He then became Egypt's Deputy Prime Minister for Foreign Affairs for several months before moving to the United Nations. He was Vice President of the Socialist International until assuming office as UN Secretary General in 1992. Dr. Boutros Ghali played a part in the peace agreements between Egyptian President Muhammad Anwar al-Sadat and Israeli Prime Minister Menachem Begin.
Our main preoccupation was to avoid a bilateral agreement between Israel and Egypt at the expense of the Palestinians.
In September 1978, Dr. Boutros Ghali attended the Camp David summit and had a role in negotiating the Camp David Accords between Egypt and Israel, which were signed in 1979. Dr. Boutros Ghali became the 6th Secretary General of the United Nations from January 1992 to December 1996. He oversaw the United Nations at a time when it dealt with several world crises, including the breakup of Yugoslavia, the Rwandan genocide, and the Srebrenica and Kana massacres. Dr. Boutros Ghali became Secretary General of La Francophonie between 1997 and 2002. He founded the National Council for Human Rights, the NCHR, in Egypt in 2003 and became its first president. He remained as NCHR president until September 2012, when the council members were reshuffled. The newly formed council became Brotherhood-dominated during the rule of then Brotherhood President Mohamed Morsi and remained as such until Morsi's ouster in July 2013. Dr. Boutros Ghali became honorary president of the National Council for Human Rights when new NCHR members were appointed in August 2013 during the rule of interim president Adli Mansour. Dr. Boutros Ghali participated in numerous meetings, conferences and summits. He chaired an international panel on democracy and development set up by UNESCO and composed of 16 personalities from all regions of the world. The debates took place during 3 meetings starting 1998. Dr. Boutros Ghali is a prolific writer, and one of his favorite topics is globalization. Joining Peace in Focus is His Excellency Dr. Boutros Ghali, Honorary President of the National Council for Human Rights and former UN Secretary General. Your Excellency, thank you so much for joining Peace in Focus. Good to have you, sir.
Thank you.
You wrote that the international community should not expect a country in transition like Egypt to undergo 3 or 4 or 5 changes at the same time because it will be incapable of doing so. So, what should be Egypt's priorities immediately after implementing its political roadmap?
The problem of water, and 2, the problem of demographic explosion. Those are 2 first steps who have to be done. It depends of your point of view, it depends of the ideological approach, but as long as more than 50% of the Egyptian population is practically illiterate, it will be difficult to apply the democracy existing in Great Britain, France, or Germany.
The fact that they are illiterate, they are already marginalized.
They are marginalized because they don't read, they don't write, they are not involved in daily politics. They are isolated. This is one of the main reasons. Then again, poverty is another important element. And what is important also is what will be the role of the elite, what they can do to promote democracy, to promote development.
Then President Hosni Mubarak used to reiterate that overpopulation was the greatest challenge to development in Egypt. Do you agree to this, or you think that globalization is a bigger impediment?
No, I'm sorry. Just take an example. Just take Cairo. Cairo has a population of 1 million, and then 2 million. Today, 20 million. Look what happened in the street. You are not able to move from one part of Cairo to another part of Cairo unless you spend 1 hour. So this is a proof that we are not able to cope with the problem of demographic explosion. Every year we will have around 2 million Egyptians more, where you need more schools, more hospitals. What we'll do with them? So unless we'll find a way to limit, to contain this demographic explosion, we will not be able to solve the problem of this country.
So you think that overpopulation is the biggest challenge that Egypt
Yes,
faces?
for me, yes. Because what? Because until now you will not find one article in the press to mention the problem of overpopulation. Nothing. How come? How come that nobody is thinking of moving the capital of Egypt, Cairo, to another place? Look what happened in Rio de Janeiro. They create a new capital, Brasilia. In Africa, they moved to Abuja. And here we are. We move from 1 million to 20 million and we are doing nothing. Different capital have closed the capital. You are not allowed to live in the capital.
But
this was even not discussed by any newspaper, by any academic center, nothing. Here is the real problem, that we are not aware of the importance of this demographic explosion.
So you do believe that Egypt should decentralize?
One, but Egypt must find a way to control the demographic explosion. We will not be able to do what China have done, 1 children only. But again, we must find a solution.
There has been much debate about development aid to Egypt. What should be the role of international assistance in the democratization process, and which should come first, development aid or democracy?
It is an academic question. Let us be practical. Foreign aid, let us give priority for foreign aid. If democracy is an important element to obtain foreign aid, let us promote democracy. So there is no rule.
You say in your writings that there is no genuine international democracy, but there is anarchy and hegemony, and that anarchy has increased by globalization. What impact does this have on domestic democracy?
There is different kind of globalization. There is the globalization of terror, the globalization of the problem of climate, the globalization of disease, the globalization of communications, the globalization of trade. So there is different kind of globalization. The problem is that the different category of globalization must be represented, must participate in the decision which will be taken for the democratization of globalization. We need national democracy, even if the international democracy was not existing. But tomorrow, as the main national problems cannot be solved at the national level, so we need international democracy. This is the simple explanation. Today, the majority of the problem can be solved at the national level. But in the next few years, due to the globalization, the main problem cannot be solved at the national level. The national level cannot be solved at the national problems cannot be solved at the national level. You need the international approach. You need the participation of the non-state actors, which are the newcomers since the technological revolution.
What do you think of the January 2011 and June 2013 revolutions?
Looking back, I believe that those different periods of transition since the end of the regime